Yes, drugs have been a tragic issue for many generations in the Bronx. Today's epidemic is reaching its boiling point, okay? The question is, there's a two-part question. What do you think is at the core of today's epidemic? The core of today's epidemic. And B, how can the problem be addressed before the fact to prevent drug use and abuse, rather than after the fact to treat abuse? So, yes. The first part of the question is, what do you think is at the core of today's epidemic? And B is, how can the problem be addressed before the fact to prevent drug use and abuse, rather than after the fact to treat abuse? This is an age-old question. Who goes next?
Mr. Doyle.
Can I make a quick suggestion?
Yes?
Since this is a very, very complicated problem, can we have a little bit longer time than 90 seconds?
we'll
Can we have
have-
120 seconds?
Sure.
Thank you.
Get to the point.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try.
Gotta go home.
Opioids. What's the cause of the problem? We all know this. The pharmaceutical industry could make $1. They overprescribed. They was giving you prescriptions you didn't need. I had a knee surgery. They sent me home with a thing of Oxycontins like this big.
Yeah.
Friday after the surgery. Not feeling well. I take the day off of work. It's 9 a.m. I go in. My leg's hurting me. I take one of the opioids and I go to take a nap. I woke up at 5 p.m. The next day I took those opioids and I flushed them down the toilet. But listen, there were some people with deeper pain than I did, maybe they had different judgment than I did, whatever. They took those pills. When the pills ran out, they went to another doctor. They went doctor shopping. Eventually, they ran out of money. The insurance wouldn't cover it. They went to heroin because heroin is cheaper. And that's how we're losing people of this generation. And I've lost people. One of my best friends growing up, he has grappled with this, and he's not the same person he was 10 years ago, and it's terrible. When I'm out on the doors, and we're all knocking doors here, this is a very common concern. I've had mothers come to me with tears in their eyes saying, my son's still struggling, my daughter got involved with the wrong guy, whatever the situation is. We're losing people. How do we fix it? One, and I was also involved, by the way, in this district in shutting down the largest pill mill in the Northeast with Bob Beater. We got the state involved, and eventually that guy was shut down. How do we go from here? One, I'd like to do what we did with SUV, where we hire credible messengers who are one time on the wrong side of the tracks to go out there and do epidemiology. I want to reach out to these people on their level. We saw with SUV, north of the Parkway, shootings are down 60%. God bless. 60%. I want to do that with opioids. I want to do that, bring people in and let people know they don't need to bottom out to get help. Number one. Number two, I want to make sure that if you need more than 72 hours, that we have all the hospitals having transfer privileges between the private hospitals and the public hospitals. Because you know what, if you need more than 72 hours to get better, or you're going to go back to a situation that's going to cause you to relapse, which is going to be more costly overall, I would rather you stay at the public hospital for another few days to get better. Three, I want all the bars and the nightclubs to have the naloxone that we require with first aid kits and CPR kits. So when someone does overdose, we get it to them right away. Four, I want to make sure for all the top 10 neighborhoods that grapple with us being one of them, that they have a pharmacy within that district that gives the naloxone out free of charge, no questions asked. And I want to make sure at every other pharmacy in this city that when you look on the cash register, it just says you don't need to ask, you don't need to feel shame. The free naloxone is at this in your district. That's how we make a difference. And of course I want to make sure there's drug education that's going on in the classrooms, but I want it to be evidence-based. You work in psychology, Charlene, and we've had many conversations on our bus on the way to work. It is to be evidence-based. We have to know these things work. Listen, the DARE program, a lot of people like the DARE program. They had great dramatic videos. I think I still have the t-shirt lying around from way back when. It was not an evidence-based effective program. We need to invest in things that work. The things I'm talking about do work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I apologize if I've been a little emotional here today.
It's okay.
It's been a long campaign, and I apologize to all of you. It's not my nature to be this way, but I've come a long way. When you think of our children, they're not being educated at the high school level when it comes to drugs.
Yep.
When you think about Albany, where Mark is at, there's a month where the lobbyists come in and they bring everything from tobacco company, from big farm, everything. And they are just there to culture and to nurture the lobbyists to pass legislation. Now, if the state legislators are passing legislation to use Percocets and Oxys, and the federal government just passed, the FDA just passed a law to allow 11-year-old children to use oxycodone. When the doctor prescribes it, the pharmacist is going to prescribe it. There is a big problem, and the problem comes with our legislators that are selling out the community. The FDA just passed the law to allow Oxycontins to be administered to 11-year-old children, ladies and gentlemen. It comes from the feds, the state, at the local level. It's difficult to fight this problem. This is an epidemic, right? And this is an epidemic that I personally have fought. And I worked at Promesa, a drug rehab program. I was a recreational director in a drug rehab program, trying to bring people back to life. I'm the only one that has experience inside of a drug rehab program and understand at the state, federal, and local levels what's happening. We need to pass legislation, and we need to hold our politicians accountable for the bills that they pass and the co-sponsors that they be in. That's it, period. Now, with all that said, Big Farm is here. Business is business. America is about business. Don't think that they're gonna stop. What we need to do is educate our children. Grandparents here, we need to educate our grandchildren. The kids are popping oxycodone 7 at a time a day, 25 a day. They're going out to clubs and they're partying. And they don't understand the detrimental effects that it's having on them. And we're gonna have a big problem 20 years from now with these kids. Thank you. I hope I answered your question.
I have the floor. Thank you. Do we need painkillers? Of course we do. We need them. All of us need them. All of history, we're dealing with it. You know what separates modern medicine from medicine 1,000 years ago? Painkillers. You know, the knife, the scalpel hasn't changed in 2,000 years. They still cut you. Go to a doctor. What do? Go to Waters Place, go to Montefiore, go to Jacobi. They cut you with the scalpel that hasn't changed in 2,000 years. I told that to a doctor. I was teasing him. You know what he said? You're right, but at least the painkillers got better. So unfortunately, we're dealing with it. We're dealing with opium. Opium is morphine. Morphine, Civil War veterans dealt with morphine, addicted. World War I veterans became addicted to morphine. World War II veterans became to morphine. Vietnam veterans became addicted to morphine. So when we have our veterans that happen, and it's humanity, people get hooked on this stuff. We have friends, construction workers, not drug dealers, not druggies that are on the corner. Construction guys that get hurt, they're back. They go for operation. 3 months they're on painkillers. 6 months later, they're basically hooked. A year later, they lost 50 pounds. You can't tell their bones, and the only thing they want to do is get more drugs. It's our problem, unfortunately. It is our problem. Is it the same problem we had 40 years ago, 30 years ago? It's not the same issue. It's changed. We need to help our people. The ones that are doing it for criminal behavior, we lock them up and give them treatment. The construction guy or our neighbors that got hooked because of pain, let's send them to a rehab. 30 days cleanup, the insurance companies pay. That's not enough. I would say 90 days. Give the opportunity to have someone institutionalized and get cleaned. Those are the answers that we need to do. And that costs money. That's where we need to put in our taxpayers' money. Help our friends. We're not going to get away from opiates. We need them. Our society needs them. Thank you.
So we've all seen that the core of this is actually addiction. Addiction can come in many different ways, and what we have to really look at is how do we address addiction overall. And then the other part is the overprescription that has happened. And you know what? We have to stop having our families feel like criminals because they need somewhere to turn to if they know of somebody who is struggling with this addiction. And why I am I'm a child of the 80s. I was alive during the crack epidemic, and I saw where the recovery began with the churches, the different social groups that happened within there. That safe space where families, parents were forced to rat on their children, but they didn't know where to go, who to turn to. So they rather just help their kid with their addiction in other ways that weren't helping. Giving that safe space, having that environment where you can have a social worker, doctor, everyone together, working together, because that's what this community is about. It's about everyone working together to find solutions. And it's about holding these drug dealers accountable and giving them longer sentences. And if, God forbid, someone does pass away due to this drug dealer, then you're facing life. That's it. Because you can't take a life without being held accountable for taking it. And that's what we need to do. We need to work together and make sure that we heal as a community. Provide that safe space within the different churches, the different groups that are around. And let families know that we are here to support each other, because it can be very isolating. Addiction is very tough. But working together is how we resolve this. And holding those accountable to the fullest extent is what we need to do. And as your council member, that's what I want to bring back. And then what we start off with is education. Not only for children, but also for parents, for grandparents, because sometimes it's tough to see a person going through something and not knowing what they're going through. You can't even know that they're addicted until it's too late. Learning the warning signs, understanding what the side effects are before you even take the medicine, and asking, hey, is there something else I can take that actually helps me in the same way but doesn't affect me and gives me these side effects? That's what we need to know, that we have that power. So thank you.
We're gonna have a quick closing statement. Yes, 1 minute. 1 minute. John, we have, oh, okay, that's okay.
He's a tall man.
Yes, he needs to stretch. Okay. So, okay, we're gonna go down. We're gonna start with you, Marjorie, and it'll be a closing statement, 1 minute.
Give us a minute for a second.
1 minute, 1 minute.
Thank you everyone for coming out tonight. Sorry I couldn't be here earlier and answer all these other questions, but everyone has a way to reach out to me. I will be staying after the forum, so you could always ask me questions afterwards as well. My name is Marjorie Velasquez, and I'd be honored to have your vote and your support this coming Tuesday. I'm tiny, but I'm a spitball of fire, and what I've been able to accomplish so far as being a community activist, as being a Democratic district leader, is so far the best thing on earth, right? Helping people throughout different situations, being there, being their voice. I want to take it to the next level. Holding other folks accountable, holding Albany accountable, holding the mayor accountable, holding folks that can do better for us accountable, because we deserve it. We as a community need help, and I'm here to be loud and vocal for it. Thank you so much.
Again, Cementelli, Giulio Cementelli, Democratic candidate. I need your support. Obviously, you didn't get a lot of fancy literature from me. I didn't have the money. All the big shots here, I've raised all the big money. Interesting enough, I've been volunteering and doing community activity for 30 years. Some of the people in this audience can vouch. 30 years ago, we were doing community activities. Protesting all the issues. I'm looking at one of my flyers here. I had a question. One of the young guys asked me, in their 20s, they said, why would you protest 7-Eleven? 20 years ago, we protested 7-Eleven, right? And they said, they couldn't understand, we love 7-Eleven. Yeah, you go in there, you hang out, all the music, right? It's beautiful. But it just goes to show, 20 years ago, we were protesting 7-Eleven. This is the person you need to send to City Hall. Cementelli will keep this mayor in check. We'll keep the balance. I don't think anyone else here will do the same. I have the track history. Unfortunately, everyone says they've been community activists. I've been 30 years I've invested. I hope that means something. How many meetings, how many activities, how many positions I've taken where I've been at meetings where I've been the only one speaking against issues. Not one other person. Shamefully, not one other person. So for 30 years, I've been doing it. I hope you consider that as a criteria. Again, I don't have the money, I'm not politically connected, and I need your support, September 12th, Democratic primary.
So, before I get to my statement, just a point of clarification. I'm the young guy who asked about 7-Eleven. I'm 31 years old, not 20-something. And as my staff member, I can tell you, I actually went into that 7-Eleven before we came here. But I still love this guy. I want to thank Van Nest Alliance for stepping up and doing this forum. The truth is, in the 80th Assembly District, this is one of only 2. We've done 11. The other 9 have been in the 82nd, where people are much more engaged. And I think that, even though I respect many of the other members of this community, I think a lot of the members did their communities a disservice by not hosting forums like this. So I want to thank Charlene, I want to thank Bernadette, I want to thank Marie, I want to thank Marie, I want to thank John, I want to thank everyone who was involved in putting this together, because knowledge, I think something we can all agree on, knowledge is power. And you deserve the knowledge to make this decision. It's a very important, consequential decision you will be making. Listen, I'm not trying to make a personal attack here, but I think this is a very healthy illustration right here. That Mr. Jonai, that he left you, the voters of this district, to go spend time with out-of-district donors. That was a higher priority for him. And you know what? If he wins this seat, his assembly seats may sit vacant for an entire year. Or the Democratic County appoints someone, as I confronted him on here tonight. Democratic County will appoint someone, and your voice will not be included in that process. That's disgraceful. He announced a month after he won re-election he was going to run for this seat. If he knew that beforehand, he should have stepped aside and not run for re-election. That would have been the right thing to do. When Van Nest needed a champion, when we needed to get a bank in Van Nest, I worked with this board, we got it done. I worked with Bobby Ruggiero as well. When Van Nest needed cameras in Van Nest Park, when Purdom and others needed to have safety in their community, I stepped up, I got the funding, we got that done. It's a safer park today because of our efforts. When there were foreclosures in this community that needed to be cemented over, when we needed the banks to take responsibility, I went in here with your fearless leader, and she is fearless. She was like breaking down doors, going in there to force the banks to clean up their messes, their responsibility, because it's bringing down your home values. It's unacceptable. It wouldn't be tolerated anywhere else. And I never cared where the district line ended. I went with you wherever you wanted to go. The House of Horrors we talked about earlier, I'm the one who stepped up and got the bad tenants out of there. Those are the leaders you need in Albany. Listen, I think it's great that Mark throws a party for you guys once a year at Van Nest Park. We're not electing the special events director for Barnum and Bailey Circus. We're electing your next city councilman. Let me be absolutely clear in that respect. This is a solemn responsibility. You have to have dedication in your bones to get the job right. Look at the record of accomplishment. Anyone can do an 11th hour lawsuit. Before he was our president, Donald Trump was famous for some of those things. That's not what we need right now. We need committed community activist public servant, who has a proven track record in this community, who's going to protect you from the ills that are around the corner. Because these developers are not philanthropists. They're given now for favors later. Thank you.
Once again, ladies, I started off earlier and I asked for a prayer for Mr. Gomez and his family. He went out to Florida with his 2 sons. Just give me a second just to do a little prayer. And I hope in your mind and your heart and your spirit that you pray that he comes back home. Because Mr. Gomez was supposed to sit next to us. And he's not here. And I'm going to tell you why he's not here. Because she committed 1,600 counts of fraud. And I'm calling, wait, hold on, I got to get out my chest. And I'm going to call the state attorney general to file a complaint against her. Now, I'm sorry, I have to say it. I'm your school teacher. I worked at a hospital. I built skate parks, and I cut it the way it is. The same way I get it, I give it. I am sorry that I've been emotional today. It's been a long couple of months. And I had no money to run this campaign. It didn't cost you, the taxpayers, nothing. It cost $100,000, $800,000, I don't know how many $1,500, and I stand before you as a middle-class man, as a teacher, as a person that's gonna fight for you, that has fought the fight. God bless you, and may Gomez come back home safe with his son. Because God forbid anything happens to Mr. Gomez. I will be walking up to Albany to the State Attorney General's office filing a complaint and charges against Ms. Velasquez for fraud. Thank you, God bless you, and may you get home today safe, the way I want Mr. Gomez to get home safe. He's in Miami, and he's in danger, so pray for him, and I know there's some cameras.
How about now?
We just have 1 second. First of all, as president of the Venice Neighborhoods, I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank all of our candidates here today. I know it's been a very long, hard campaign for everybody, and it's been tough. I wish everybody the best. I want to thank you guys, everybody, for coming here today. I also want to thank the Bronx Muslim Center. They donated all of those, all of the sandwiches. Please take some home because we don't have enough people to give them out to. We're going to give them cards to some of the seniors in here, but please take them home. And everybody have a wonderful time. September 12th, go out and vote. Thank you. Have a good evening.